It raises wages. It raises total earnings, which would be hours times wages. And so you can say that it raises incomes. On the downside, we have to wonder, are some people suffering because they can't find jobs or they lose jobs? So that the people who keep their jobs, they're clearly doing better off. So the question is, are some people being hurt while a large number of people are benefiting? And the evidence is, it's not very good evidence right now, but on balance, as far as we can tell, if anybody's being hurt, losing their jobs and suffering the income hurt, it's very, very few people. In the United States, it appears that most of what may be happening, people who don't earn very much tend to turn over in their jobs a lot. They have a job for a while, then they leave, and they then go find a new one. Or they lose the first job, but then they find a new one. And it appears that what happens is if there's any effect, it may be that they are very slightly longer between jobs. But even that's not clear that there's even that effect. So it's raising wages and it's raising earnings. That we're pretty comfortable with saying.
Well, a low minimum wage means that the minimum wage becomes irrelevant in the labor market. If you keep it very low, all that happens is market wages increase due to inflation, other things, so that it no longer matters. It's not creating any good for people, it's not raising their wages, it's not achieving the purpose, which is a minimum sustainable standard of living. Probably what we'd suggest, and we're talking about the target in OECD countries, developed countries, is that minimum wage should be half of the median wage of full-time workers. But to get there, it's best to do it in modest annual steps. You don't want to move it, say, from Mexico, where it's 38% to 50% in 1 year. But if you did that over a series of 5-year steps of, say, 2% a year, you would minimize any negative employment effects while delivering higher wages to people on low incomes.
The experience has been, I guess, what we described, which was higher earnings, higher wages, and other than that, no detectable effect on the labor market. That's not quite true. The one detectable effect appears to be that people stay in their jobs longer. They once there's a higher minimum wage, either because they're working more effectively so their bosses don't fire them and lay them off, or because they know that they're unlikely to find a job with a higher wage than they're currently making because they're already making a relatively higher wage. They don't look for new jobs as often. They don't leave their old jobs as often. And that actually saves costs to their employers, because I mentioned in my talk, it's costly to firms to have to hire people, to have to publicize that they're looking for people, then to have to interview and screen applicants to see if those would be good employees for them, and then to train them. So that it looks like up to a point, a higher minimum wage can actually make the employment relationship more efficient on both sides.
I was just going to say, we actually have a good case of this in the United Kingdom, which implemented its new minimum wage in, I believe, 1998, and did it in a staged fashion. So they started fairly low, but then have been moving it up steadily. And they're not finding disemployment effects. They're not finding shedding of employment. What they are finding is it's moving the whole wage structure up, and it's affecting, especially for women, the lower 30% of women, and it's boosting their earnings. So it's had a very positive effect, and it's popular enough that it's being supported by the Conservative government in England.